Did you ever wonder why people convert to new religions like Mormonism or born-again Christians or people who convert to Islam? It's something that can seem bizarre to a modern mind that's steeped in a kind of a secular civilization. But in this episode of The Living Philosophy, we're going to explore why exactly people do that by looking at some experience that I had with the Mormons. Myself and a friend of mine used to go visit these Mormon missionaries that were here, and we used to go every week, and for maybe a couple of months, a few months, and we would chat about spirituality. Basically, me and my friend were really into spirituality and the comparative religions and mythology and Jungian kind of stuff, and it was just fascinating to go along and listen to these people and talk to these people who were genuinely religious and so devoted to their faith, and for us to kind of explore, to map over our mindsets and to map over our worldviews. And yeah, it was a lot of fun actually, and they were really lovely people. I've got a lot of warmth in my heart for Mormons because they're genuinely nice people. They're so warm and they're so friendly. And so we'd have these conversations with them every week, and it was constantly fascinating, and it was great to get an insight into how their mindset worked, what their view of religion was, because these are much more traditional religious people than we tend to get in Ireland. Even I look at my grandmother who's devoutly religious, but it's in a different way to the Mormons, to these missionaries. And even the fact that they went on this mission is just mind-blowing. You know, that's such an undertaking, that's such a dedication to a journey to set aside 18 months or 2 years of your life to go off to some far part of the world and try and convert people, and you just read the Mormon book and the Mormon text when you're there. It's an amazing thing. I would love to make like a secular version of that. I don't know if I have a book that would be good enough that you can live by. I don't think getting people to go off and read Nietzsche and to become I'm not even sure what you get them to become Zarathustrans going into the marketplace with lanterns like Diogenes, something like that. I think it would be interesting, but I think they're sending their young people out on heroes' journeys, as long as the young people want to go. It's a hero's journey, but it's also an immersion in faith. It's steeping yourself in this, and that's going to open you up to much more synchronicities, to much more deep spiritual and religious kind of experiences and chance meetings. And what a way to grow for a person. So really admire that part of Mormonism. And what was really interesting was to see, because I always wondered, how do people convert to religions? I couldn't understand it. I can understand you growing up and believing in this thing, but I didn't understand that. And then they were kind of telling us how well, because they weren't telling us how it works. Because obviously from their mindset that's not really what's going on, but they were telling us, do you believe that Joseph Smith was a prophet? And me and my friend were both like, yeah, he is. And I think normally you get pushback with that. Normally you say, no, I don't think so. And you get it's the tension of the opposites that would cause that kind of enantiodromia to flip around, because quite often it's atheists that convert to religions, and they've got this tension, this wall of resistance up against religion, and so it can swallow them. It's that black in the yang turning into the white of the yin, or the white of yin turning into the black of yang, whichever way you want to view it. But for us, we're I guess just really into spirituality and thinking about different spiritual things and kind of Jungian philosophy, psychology kind of stuff. So, I believe that this person, Joseph Smith, had like a religious experience. He had a connection with either like what Jung would call the self, or just some kind of a collective unconscious experience. And so, yeah, he's a prophet in the sense of he experienced that higher truth in the way that the different mystics around the world and the different religious leaders around the world have had that experience. So it's when they ask me, is he the prophet? I say he's a prophet. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Is he the only prophet though? I don't think so. I don't believe in this one way, in this one path. And so there wasn't really enough resistance there to push back. But what they said was, go home and pray to God to ask him to reveal to you whether Joseph Smith is real. And what you get there, it's brilliant in a way, because if you think about it, you can never just go and believe in something You couldn't just go, I like the idea of the Mormon religion. I'm going to go and I'm going to believe in that. That's not really how it works. And so that person will go home. And if they've got that resistance again, there's going to be almost a fear of getting that voice back from God. And it's going to mean something because you've put a wall up, you've pushed it back. And so you're going to get this wall, this dam releasing of collective unconscious energy if you need it. And that's where I think religion really works, is when someone needs it. It's a place for, if you're struggling, then religion can be this balm. It can give the world a certain meaning. It can be a raft that carries you through tough times. And so if someone goes home and prays to God to get an answer, is Joseph Smith the real prophet? Imagine if you're an atheist, you go home, you do that, and you get an answer, and something in you says yes, or you have a powerful dream, then you'd be like, wow, this is amazing, this must be the truth. And if you had that numinous experience of the collective unconscious emotions powering through you, then of course you'd start to believe in the truth of that, and that seed would grow and blossom, and it would turn into a mighty tree in your mind, a tree of faith. And I think that's a really interesting insight, is that it's not that they're trying to indoctrinate you. It's that they tell you to go home and have your own experience. Go home and have a spiritual experience for yourself. And I think that's, I guess it's the only way you could really have a conversion. And you get that inner light. You get that Paul on the road to Damascus moment. And for me, that was just such a eureka moment to be like, oh, is that how it works? Because if you follow my other videos where I talk about kind of Jungian stuff in the collective unconscious, you'll know my attitude towards God and divinity is that, at the very least, it's an experience of psychology. It's an experience of the collective unconscious that's at least within you. Now, I'm agnostic as to whether that experience of the self, which feels like you've experienced truth, transcendent truth, in the way that taking DMT or ayahuasca can kind of tap you into that. It's an experience of transcendent truth, but whether that is actually an objective truth or whether it's the subjective feeling of truth, I don't know. I'm agnostic about the truth beyond the self, but I know that experience of the self with a capital S, as Jung always talks about, that mandala drawing experience is sacred, and it's such a powerful experience in the human soul, and the feeling connected to something higher within you. And yeah, it was just fascinating for me to see how the Mormons can draw you to that, how religions can tell you, go experience it yourself. And once you've experienced that inner fountain of life, well, of course it's going to be much easier to start believing the other things when this thing you thought was impossible turns out to be true. So it's like the first miracle, it's the gateway miracle. So yeah, that's everything that I wanted to share today, just an insight into Mormonism and into all religions and how they get converts. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe if you haven't already. Give us a like down below, a thumbs up, and I'd love to hear from you down in the comments if you have any thoughts, insights, or feedback to throw in there. And otherwise I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching.